everybody. Dr. Rick here, dropping in on you. Hope everybody is off to a great start. Look, it has been quite a challenging year for me, and yet I'm still here. I'm still pressing on. I'm still moving. And a lot is happening in the business realm for me while so much is happening and going on personally. And you've always heard me say, if you're still breathing, you're still in the fight, that you have to be able to look at yourself at some point in time and tell yourself you're built for this, because this isn't about operating in a vacuum in which everything goes exactly how you want it to go. People behave the way you want them to. Circumstances fall in line. That's not what creates success. What creates success is a persistent moving towards a particular goal. And when that goal is worthy of your commitment, worthy of your energy, worthy of your effort, worthy of your own personal esteem, then you go after it and you do what it takes to get there. It's not about ease. I've said this so many times. Life is not about ease. It's about reward. It's about being fulfilled. It's about pressing yourself to live and not just exist. And so this has been a challenging year for me, but it's also been extremely rewarding. I'm excited about what we're accomplishing and what we're doing at Rick Wallace Enterprises, especially the Visionetics Institute. I'm excited about the things I'm preparing to do to take things to the next level so that we can reach more people. But anyway, look, this is Transformational Tuesday. Yesterday was Money Monday. We talked about some things I think is important, and we're going to continue to do so. Tomorrow is Wealth Building Wednesday. Thursday is Thankful or Grateful. Thankful Thursdays, focus on gratitude and the importance of a positive mindset. And Friday is Focus Friday. But look, here we are, Transformational Thursday, and I want to do something a little different. I really want to start giving you step by steps, giving you some insight, something you can take away from every video and actually apply to your life and see a difference when you apply it, even if it's not applied perfectly. If you can sense a change, you can see some difference. I want to do that for you. Before I do, I want to point you to the description box, to the post box, depending on where you're watching this at. Look, I'm expanding things. And for those who don't know, I'm going back to my first love, which is live events, on stage events, transformational events. These are full day events where we literally work people through the process of changing, and they get to experience it that day. No, you don't get everything you want. It's not some magic thing, but there's a process you can go through and experience a breakthrough and change in your life in a short period of time. That's why I created the Rapid Change Breakthrough Session. But anyway, what this is going to do is it's going to, over the course of next year, limit the amount of time I have for one-on-one. So the opportunity to work with me one-on-one is still the best opportunity. It just limits how many people I can work with at any given time. And so I need to reach more people. And I miss the stage. I miss the energy from the stage. I miss being able to touch and sense so much positivity in one space. And it's my first love. I was on the stage before I was a writer, before I was an author, before I got into human performance and human behavior. That's where I was, and it's still my number one thing. I love to talk. If you haven't gotten that, but I love to talk with purpose. I love to talk with an intent. I love to talk in ways that takes people somewhere. But there's two opportunities to work with me. The first one is the Rapid Change Breakthrough Session. It's one session, and it's half price, but I'm giving a free session away. And I'm also giving people free admission to my first live event, which is Ascension 2022. And it's whether you're in Houston to attend it live or you're going to watch it via virtual. I'm giving you free admission to it because I want you to be there. The second one is even better. It is my bronze package, which is my 12-week package, but I'm personally upgrading the first 5 people who take advantage of it. So if you pay for the bronze package, which is 12 weeks, you get a free upgrade to the 52-week package, which is a $12,995 package that's working with me for a year. And believe it or not, my platinum package is my top selling package. Even people who start with me in the bronze ends up at the platinum, and I have platinum clients who have renewed 3 times. And so that tells you, obviously, I work with high performers, but also that what I do works. And I'm giving you an opportunity to get into it and do it at an unbelievably reduced rate. And that's that. So now I've been spending, and whether you know it or not, I read my own books. I study what I've written. I look at it. Number one, it gives me an indication of where I'm at compared to where I was when I wrote it, because my goal is intentional growth. My goal is not to be the person that I am today 5 years from now. So when I look back and, okay, here's my 20th book, 20 out of 25. This is probably my second bestseller. Well, maybe a third, because the Miseducation of Black Youth is being purchased in bulk for a couple of universities. So it's sold a number of copies. But before that, When Your House Is Not a Home, dealing with marriage is probably at that one, and Born in Captivity. But Critical Mass, the phenomenon of next level living. And I'm going through and I'm looking at something. I said, man, this is just awesome for Transformational Tuesday. So I'm going to take you through 6 steps of transformation, but I want to read to you. I want to try to lay the foundation for you of what transformation takes and why I'm so good at helping people achieve transformation. That's a guy by the name of David Hawkins. He's an American philosopher. He says everything you see happening is the consequence of that which you are. And you've heard me say this, I don't know how many times. You don't get what you want, you get who you are. You get what you're able to become. Life isn't about getting stuff just because you want it. Life isn't about having something fortuitously fall into your lap. Life is about becoming what you need to be in order to have what you want. You get what you become. Okay, so we understand that. Then Mark Cain said, the first step toward success is taken when you refuse to be a captive of the environment in which you first find yourself. So many people are using where they come from, what they were born into, what they went through as children, what the environment they inherited, the circle they inherited. I'm real big on circles. I believe that you're going to ultimately be the average of the 5 people you spend the most time around. And so it's important for you to specifically and intentfully create a winning circle. Now, you're born into your first circle. Your first circle you inherit. You don't have a choice in it. You're born into it. And maybe you're born into a great circle of people who are doing extraordinary things, but what if you aren't? Does that mean that your lot in life is to be what they have been, to only accomplish what they believe possible? Absolutely not. You have the ability to come out of any situation. There's no such thing as your lot in life. There's no such thing as your lot in life. Then what is it? It is your ability to sit up and say, I refuse to be here. I'm going to change who I am so that I can change my trajectory, so that I can change my position, and therefore change my situation and circumstances. And I can do this consistently through life. I am never stuck. I am simply in a position of transition. And once I understand that, now I can determine the direction of this transition. Life is moving. It is never stagnant. You're either moving forward or you're moving backwards, but you're moving. You got to determine what you're doing and how you're doing it. And here's what I wrote in chapter 18 in Critical Mass. It's the title. The title of the chapter is "The Mind Unleashed: Creating Your Own Reality." And I said, when studying the great philosophers that have existed throughout history, as well as some of the most successful men throughout the annals of time, I noticed something unique. While there were many differences in philosophical opinion, one thing remained consistent across the board with each and every one of them. They all believe that your mind creates your reality. You are what you think. The book of Proverbs says, as a man thinks, so is he. James Allen wrote a book, As a Man Thinketh. If you read Wallace D. Wattles, The Science of Getting Rich, written in 1906. If you read Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich, written, I believe, in 1933. if you read, I mean, just so many more. The richest man in Babylon. Whatever you find, you associate with success, you're going to find out that your thoughts precede your circumstances. Your thoughts have physicality. Your thoughts become things. You're literally living what you thought previously. You're living the results and the consequences of your thinking each and every day. Now, it's not something your thinking can do something extreme. In other words, your thinking can produce an immediate result. You go out and you think something crazy and you decide to do something wrong. Your thought can literally put you in prison, in jail. Your thoughts can cause you to have relational issues immediately. But I'm talking about those thoughts that are moving through your. Do you realize you have in your subconscious about 60 or 70,000 thoughts that move underneath the surface of your consciousness each and every day that you are most likely completely unaware of, but that govern your movement? You are 96% of your subconscious. 96% of your behavior and your outcome is subconscious. Your conscious only controls 4% of your behavior. That's why willpower alone never works. That's why people who are trying to use willpower to change certain situations will have some success, because when they're thinking about it, they're doing it right. But when they go into automatic mode, which is 96% of your day, they're doing and thinking who they are, what their limiting beliefs or what their erroneous beliefs have taught them to believe, think, and you operate based off of your beliefs. You are creating ideas and making decisions automatically based off of that. So then what must you do? You must understand that if I'm going to change my life, I have to change my thinking. It sounds basic, but I'm telling you, it's one of the most difficult things to do. But here is the beautiful thing about this is there used to be a time not that long ago that we thought that after about 7 years old or so, that the human personality was hardwired, that who a person was going to be was hardwired, meaning that you were literally going to be, you were locked in. If you were an introvert, you were going to always be an introvert. If you were an extrovert, you were going to always be an extrovert. If you were a pessimist, you are always going to be a pessimist. And you're an optimist, and so forth and so forth. And so everybody believes this is just who I am. Here came the rush. It's just who I am. No, it's who you decide and choose to be. Because what we discovered eventually is neuroplasticity. Neuroplasticity is a neurological process in which you now create a new neurosynaptic connection, which represents every new thought. Every time you engage something new, you create a new synaptic connection that creates and represents that particular experience, that particular thought, that particular idea. Now, what happens is the more you visit the idea, the more you talk about it, the more you think about it, the more you meditate on it, the more you pray on it, the more you observe it in your imagination, the more powerful the synaptic connection becomes. Now, if this synaptic connection, this idea that is now a part of your neurological processes that's governing how the brain operates and the thoughts it's able to manage and process, then what happens is it becomes strong in whatever view it opposes. So say, for instance, I believe poverty is my lot in life. And all of a sudden I decide to say, I can be wealthy. Two different opposing thoughts. You cannot hold them at the same time. The cognitive dissonance will not allow it. So you're going to have to either dismiss one or disprove the other. So what do? You sit up and say, I decide that I am going to be wealthy. I decide no matter what my situation, no matter what I've been through, no matter how many times I failed at it before, I am deciding that I am going to be wealthy. What happens? You create a neurosynaptic connection, but it's not well developed. It's a new idea. That's a big, strong opposing side on the other side that says poverty is my lot in life. What do? You constantly focus on it. You speak it. You speak it as if it's already real. You say, I am wealthy. What happens? The brain processes as you speak speak. The brain doesn't tell you what you should be saying. The brain responds to what you're saying. What do I mean by that? The brain is listening to what you do, what you think. The brain doesn't even have the ability to determine whether you are imagining something or whether it's really happening. So what do? You go into your imagination. You imagine you making good financial decisions. You imagine you making and developing and accumulating wealth. This goes in relationships. This goes in starting businesses. This goes in being able to pass tests in academic processes and educational processes. It goes in the management of your life in every aspect, all 9 areas of human activity. You have to be willing to sit up and say something different, speak something different, and move differently, even though it's not physically a reality. You got to understand the third dimension, the 3-dimensional realm where we observe things and we call reality is only 1 dimension. We can go as high as 5, 10 dimensions and higher, and you'll find out that you are manifesting something the moment you think it. The problem is, do you cultivate it or do you let it die? The moment that you think something new, it's a new neurosynaptic connection in your brain. How long it lasts is up to you. If you think it and then it's a passing fancy, that synaptic connection will eventually wither away because it didn't have anything. It'll be a thought that's thrown back. We do have something Claudia is asking about. I'll just put it up here. We have what we call the Epic Realm community. There's a one-time lifetime membership, and it's not just a community, it is a mastermind group made up mostly of people who at some point worked with me and who are now doing their things. We have a clinic, a CEO of a clinic. We have nurse practitioners. We have business owners, some other things. And it's called the Epic Realm Community. I'll try to remember to put a link out, but if you just email me at ceo@rickwallacephd.link, I'll send you everything you need to know about joining if you want to join. It's a lifetime membership. And if I'm not mistaken, it's $100 for a lifetime membership. And we come together every week. We have weekly meetings, Q&As. If you have a business idea or you have a question, you're trying to change your life, this is where people will fan your flames. This is where people will sit down and help you work out your things. We have, like I said, we have a financial advisor who has been in the game forever. She's a former client of mine as well. But, you know, that's that. I just want to stop and answer that question. Because community is so important. You've heard me say this so many times that you have to build a winning circle. The circle you have around you is going to be a massive impact, have a massive impact on how successful you are. It's going to be real difficult to develop a mindset of prosperity, a mindset of success, a mindset of abundance if everybody around you is trying to remind you of who you used to be. Everybody around you is trying to remind you of how hard it's going to be. People are coming up with all the statistics of why businesses fail. People are coming up with you can't do this, you can't build wealth without this. You got to have money to make money. And all these things are coming, and you're trying to create a new way of thinking, and you're constantly being reminded of the old way. It's real hard to break away from that. You're going to ultimately be the average of the 5 people you hang around the most. So who are you around? Are you around critical thinkers? Or you're around people who are able to expand? So I love critical thought. You know, I've anchored a great deal of who I am in critical thought, but I've gained my advancement and expansion based on lateral thought. Lateral thought is the ability to think outside of the box, the ability to sit up and say, I know this is how it's normally done, but that's not how I'm going to do it because I need to get here. And traditional thought doesn't allow for that. So I'm going to step outside of traditional thought because I'm not bound by traditional thought. I am not bound by anything but my own thinking. If I can perceive it or conceive it in my mind, then it's possible. I may not know how I'm going to do it. I may not have all the blueprint put together, but I know it's possible. If I can conceive it in my mind, that's all I need to know to understand that I'm about to do something that I've never done before, and then I'm on my way. And I also understand that transformation is about process. So then I must become the person that's necessary. So when I get ready to do something, I'm saying, what does the person who's going to do this look like? What do they do? How do they think? What do they talk about? What is their self-talk? Who do they surround themselves with? What are their normal practices? What time do they get up in the morning? How much time and work and energy they put in it? Are they positive in their thought processes? All of this is extremely important. So then here's step one in transformation. It is crafting a vision. One of the biggest problems people have with not being able to get anything accomplished with any consistency is they don't have a true definition of what it is that they're looking for. One of the biggest things that I'm going to tell my clients when I work with you is, what is your vision? Had this conversation with a new client recently. What is your vision? What is it that you want specifically? You know, people come and say, I want more money. I said, that's highly broad, and it's not specific enough to create any movement towards anything, because there's nothing to measure. I want more money. I go in my pocket, I give you $5, you have more money. It's problem solved. No, that's not what. Well, what? No, give me a number, give me a date. So when you have a number, now you have a target. When you have a date, you created urgency. See, I have to get there by this time. Now, it's not life or death that you get there by that time, but your goal should be to try. I tend to fail forward, and I've done it my entire life. My first business mentor from 35 years ago told me, said, you're going to fail forward a lot because you have this crazy mentality where you set these goals that anybody else would call completely unrealistic, and you take them serious and you go after them with everything you have. And he says, you don't normally hit them when you set for the date you set them for, but you have gotten every ounce of potential out of every day. So when you get to that date, even though you haven't hit it, you've gotten everything you could have gotten. You didn't leave anything on the table. You went for it all. Eventually you get there, but you get to the goal you initially set by chasing the next goal. And while you're on the way to the next goal, you bypass the first goal. And that's called failing forward. And I said, okay, I'll do that. I'll fail forward for the rest of my life. I'm not concerned with semantics. I'm concerned with progress. And so that's the thing. You've got to have a vision. You've got to have something where you're sitting up and you're knowing what you're going after. That's one of the problems we have, is that we don't have a clear vision. We haven't created an idea. Get you a vision board. Write down your top 3 goals. Put it on a card. Put it in your wallet. Tape it. Oh, man, I don't have it with me. I wish I did. But inside the clip from my phone is one of my visions. It's taped there with transparent tape. So when I pull my phone off, it's right there. I keep my latest goals in my wallet. So when I pull out a credit card, bam, there it is, sitting up there looking at me. Why? Because your brain is processing it. The more times your brain sees it, even when you're doing it fast and you're not even paying attention to that, it's there. The subconscious sees it. That's why you got to be careful what you listen to. That's why you got to be careful what you put around you. You got to be careful what your gates are open to. Watch it, because you've got to protect your gates. What you're listening to is feeding your subconscious. What you're seeing is feeding your subconscious. What you're feeling is feeding your subconscious. Be very careful of your environment, your energy, and everything that you have around you. The next thing is you got to increase your knowledge. One of the reasons why I am always growing is because I have a way of controlling my growth. In other words, I wake up every day and I say, I will not go to bed tonight the same person that woke up. I will grow today. And you say, okay, how do you have that? What if nothing happens that gives you an opportunity to grow? You control that. Every day I go out and I find something I haven't read before and I read it. If nothing else, I've gained knowledge that I didn't have. Increasing your knowledge is one of the quickest ways to grow. Now, knowledge in and of itself, despite what you always hear, isn't power. Properly applied knowledge is power, but you got to get the knowledge first. Then when you take knowledge and you properly apply it and you use it and it becomes experiential, then it becomes wisdom. So now you make better decisions. But it all starts with the grabbing of new information, new knowledge. If I want to do something, I got to learn more about it. I've got to engage it with a frequency over time that I become an expert. Research shows that it takes about 10,000 hours of doing something consistently to become an expert at it. It doesn't require a degree. If you need one or you want one or whatever, if it floats your boat, get you one. But it just requires engagement. There are a bunch of people out there without degrees that are doing unbelievable work in fields that it once was believed you had to have a degree. Degree is one thing. You've got to be able to be an autodidact. That's where I've gained my things. I learned how to study in academia. I learned how to do scientific research. I learned how to establish concepts and hypotheses and theories and research and move into theorem. But that isn't where I gained my understanding. I went deeper into research. I gained a knowledge and an understanding of things. And that's how I got to be and know what it was. That's how I'm able to put out 25 books and talk and address issues. It's because I am constantly looking for more. It's no competition with anyone but me. People say, well, what competition do you have with yourself? It's the better version. See, the version I am now is in competition with the better version of me, and I'm trying to overtake it. People talk about people talk about heroes, and I tell people all the time, there are some people in the past that I admire. I admire for their minds. I admire Dr. Naeem Akbar, Dr. Amos Wilson, Dr. Joy DeGruy for their minds. I admire Malcolm X for his radical approach and his unwavering capacity. I admire Marcus Garvey and Carter G. Woodson. There are a bunch of minds that I admire. I admire Albert Einstein for his willingness to get outside of the box in a very structured world. And he was the precursor to the very thing now that I teach people on how to move into a realm and create things with their mind called quantum physics and quantum reality. It starts with, okay, yeah, everything is structured, but what if it isn't? And he was willing to ask that question. I admire that. But you know what? None of them are my heroes. I used to say Malcolm was my hero because I've got a real fixation just on the sternness and the way he stood and the way he spoke up for his people, and specifically our women. But then I realized I'm never going to be Malcolm. While I can admire him, while I can look at, I'm never going to be Malcolm. So then I started to look and I started to ask myself, who can I be? I can be me. So then I decided my hero was me 5 years from now. Let that set in. My hero is the version of me I see 5 years from now, the person that I'm going to be, the person that has mastered things that I haven't mastered yet, the person who has gained even a higher level of emotional intelligence and emotional maturity, a person who has now mellowed out and become even more caring and concerned about the world around him and not just himself. I'm growing into something beyond what's in my bank account. I'm growing into something beyond what people can see on that. I'm growing into something that leaves a legacy. And that's my hero, that person 5 years from now that I'm going to be. And so I'm striving towards something I can actually become. But you've got to have the willingness to increase the knowledge. That is what is so important. Then number 3 is be open to feedback. Oh, this one. We don't like feedback. We don't like constructive criticism. We see it as somebody detracting from us, especially if we've gained a certain level of expertise in something. We don't want anybody telling us we don't know something or we're not doing something right. One of the things that I think that has really made me who I am is I have no problem with constructive criticism. I have no problem with someone challenging me. I have no problem with someone saying, do you think that's the best way? Matter of fact, I don't have yes men around me. And when I say yes men, I mean both men and women. I don't have people around me who are there to stroke my ego. I have people around me who are willing to challenge me, who are willing to sit up and say, do you think that's the best way? Hey, remember we said we were going to do this. We said we weren't going to do it that way. Remember this, remember, and hold me accountable to doing that, because I have a tendency, because of my heart, to give away to give away the company. And they're like, no, man, you need to charge. You need to charge. You need to charge them. It's worth it. And we'll figure out a way to reach the people that can't pay. But you've got to charge people what we're set up and saying the price is, because the price considers the cost of doing business. The price considers all the things that keeps this business open, and you're out there just giving it away. And I sit up and say, okay, you know what? It's easy for me to sit up and say, look, this is my idea. I created this. I'm the CEO of the company. I'm the founder of the company, and we're doing it this way. But what'll happen is I'll be sitting on my butt twiddling and hoping I can get somebody to give me some money to pay the bills. So you got to be willing to sit up and say, and it's not just in that, man. I have some unbelievable people who have helped me through a very difficult time. And this year has just been that. This year has been the most challenging year, not the worst year, but definitely the most challenging year personally for me. And I've had some people who have been very strong and steadfast next to me who have spoken into my life and reminded me of who I am. At times I may be willing to sit up and question. Why is this? No, you built for this, man. Don't worry about it. Don't you're this, you're that. And it's been consistent. And these brothers have been strong and standing by me and unwavering. And those are the people you need. But you got to be willing to listen even when it don't sound good. When they say, hey, you probably need to stop doing that. You got to sit up and be willing to listen. Even if you don't accept it initially, you don't reject it. You sit up and say, man, let me ponder that. Let me think about that. Let me look at it. Let me see. And then the next one is embrace the culture. Well, how do we embrace the culture? We first have to create the culture. That goes back to the circle I'm talking about. That's why when the person asked about the circle, I literally stopped what I was doing to address it. Why? Because the circle is so important. And matter of fact, I am actually going to put it in the chat as soon as I find it so that people who want to join can join. Then I'll go back and put it in the links later. I mean, put it in the actual description box later. But here is the link that you can learn more about Epic Ram, the community of high achievers. It's a mastermind group where we come together and we literally talk out ways to make things. If you come up with an idea, we get together and figure out how to make it happen. We also are real big on encouraging people. One of the primary rules, the number one rule, is no negativity. I don't care how outlandish you think a person's idea is, no negativity. Okay. I just put it in the description box. It should propagate on both Facebook and YouTube channels. I'll go back and put it in the description. I just put it in the chat. I'll go back and put it in the description box later. But hey, if you want to be a part of Epic Realm, it's a lifetime membership. It's a one-time fee. And you come in and you become a part of it. And the mastermind is where things happen. I made it a lifetime. It was an annual membership. I said, forget it. Pay one time and we're going to go. We're going to stick together. We're going to grow together. We're going to become a family of like-minded people. No matter what you're going for, if your idea is progress, that's something you want to be a part of. So I put the link in there. You can click it. You can go sign up. The support team, once you sign up, will reach out to you and show you how you can connect to the different platforms we're on and where we meet at. Not everybody is on every platform, so we're spread out, and we are going to have get-togethers on other things. We're also getting together on my site, but we'll talk about all that. Okay. So you embrace the culture. You embrace the culture. You have to first create the culture. Get winners around you. Find out where winners are hanging out and start hanging out there. Stop hanging out in spaces where you're comfortable. You're going to have to get out of your comfort zone. If you're going to really, truly experience transformation, you're going to have to come out of your comfort zone. Because here's the process. Something my great-grandfather, who was my adopted father, told me, and he iterated it often, because he looked at me being a person who had to drop out of school as a son of a sharecropper. He was born in 1909. And so at 7 years old, he had to drop out of school to go work in the field to help his dad make ends meet. At 7 years old, second grade, he has to drop out of school. So he has a second grade education. So he always looked at me as being real smart. And he always said this, but he always used to tell me, boy, never be the smartest person in the room. And you're going to have a problem with that because you want to read everything. You want to do all this. You want to do. And so you're going to have problems. You're going to constantly find yourself being in situations where you could easily get caught up with the praise that people are pouring on you. Find people who know what you don't know. Be okay with not knowing. Be okay with being the little fish in the big pond. And that's been my goal. And I'm constantly going. And I've had someone that's extremely close to me ask me, do you find it increasingly difficult not to be the smartest person in the room? I say, I find myself having to be more creative and not being, but no, it's always people out there that know stuff I don't know. I don't have to be in a room where someone knows more about everything I know about. I just need to be in a room where someone knows something I don't, and they have a desire to teach. I'm willing to learn. That's the beauty of this thing. That's the beauty. And so the thing is, you've got to create a culture. You've got to find a way to be around people who are winning. If you're not, that epic ram thing is it, because everybody in there is about positivity and growth, businesses, changes. And like I said, most of the people have worked with me. So these are high performers, but I'm opening it up to everyone and they will talk with you. They will answer your questions in so many different areas. We have mental health, we have business, we have finance, we have personal situations, all that. But anyway, that's that. So you embrace the culture. What's the next one? Track your progress. I love journaling. Number one is you need to write down where you are. You need to have an idea. You need to journal about how you feel about your life right now. You need to journal about where you are financially, where you are in your relationships, where you are in your understanding and in your knowledge. It doesn't have to be directly related to any educational process. If you want to track your educational processes, do so. But just know, where am I at in knowledge? What can I talk about in a highly informed way? What areas of knowledge have I mastered? And if not, that's something you should be really focused on. You should have something that when someone starts talking, you could just go because it's your passion. And the reason it's important is because it's directly related to your purpose. If something you have a passion for something, that passion is directly related to your purpose. And when you discover your purpose, it's going to put that passion on overload. It's going to increase it. It's going to intensify it. And you're going to learn and search and seek. And that's where you're going to become extremely powerful. That's going to be what the Proverbs again says, that your gift will make room for you and bring you before great men. I haven't met a person yet who doesn't have a gift. The problem is we live in a society that doesn't search for your gift. We live in a society when they send you to school, they're not looking for your gift. They're looking to teach you a set of skills that makes you easily trainable, that makes you easy to send out into the world and someone to hire you and train you and put you to work. And you'll work your life getting paid, paying your bills, and you'll never have a sense of fulfillment because nobody ever introduced you to your gift. And when you become introduced to your gift, you'll discover your purpose. When you discover your purpose will explain your pain. So much of what I go through now, I'm able to endure because I know I have a purpose in it. It's not that to harm me, it's that to prepare me. I'm going through a process. I understand that process always precedes promise. See, the problem is we live in a world where everybody wants to skirt the process. Everybody wants to circumvent the process. Everybody wants to get around. They want the prize, but they don't want the process. They want the promise, but they don't want the process. Give me the promises of God, but I don't want the process of endurance. I don't want the process of planning. I don't want the process of working and cultivating the harvest. I don't want the process of delay and disappointment. I don't want the process of frustrations and setbacks. I don't want the process of having people talk about me. I just want to be able to have what I want. That's not how it works out. Process always precedes promise. That's why you get people who win the lottery and within a certain amount of time they go broke. Why? They got the money, they got prize without the process. They skipped the process. See, the process would have taught them the principle of finance. The process would have taught them the principle of wise spending. The process would have taught them that no matter how much you want to help everybody, you can't help everybody if you're broke. You've got to understand every dollar you spend has to have a purpose and an understood meaning to you, or you will find yourself broke no matter how much money you accumulate. You can outspend your balance. So then what do? You have to have an understanding that I am going to think in a different way. I'm going to move in a different way. I'm going to surround myself. I am going to. So what I tell people is journal about where you're at, but also I have multiple journals. I have this journal that is first thing I go in after prayer and meditation every morning. Why? Because it prompts me with questions I have to answer. Like, one thing I get excited about today, the one word that could describe the kind of person I want to be today. Someone who needs me on my A game today. It puts me in a place where I know my situation. I know why I'm doing it, what I'm doing it for, what I need to be focused on today, what I'm going to be excited about today, why I have a reason to be okay, even if things aren't going the way I want them to. All of this stuff. But then I got another journal. It's just my feelings. Then I got a journal that's talking about now. Then I got a journal that's talking about the future. The power of the mind. Remember what I'm telling you. What I started this out with. You are what you think. You are living out your thoughts of yesterday. The thoughts of today will be the things of tomorrow. So you've got to be very careful. Your thoughts have physicality. Your thoughts aren't just immaterial ideas. They are producing something in your life. So if you want to change your life, you have to change your thinking. Well, you don't just change it by saying, I'm changing my thinking. You change it through a systematic process that I've just walked you. You've got to engage new ideas. You've got to cultivate those ideas. You've got to spend time with those ideas. You've got to be willing to imagine some things that are not as if they were. You got to call things that are not as if they were. You've got to have visuals of where you're going and spend a lot of time looking at it. Why? The brain is processing it. The moment that you tell your brain that something is important to you, it is processed through your reticular activating system, a bundle of nerves at the base of the brain that's going to tell your brain what to focus on. Why? Because here's the thing. You have a subconscious that can process 4 billion bits of information per second. You have a conscious mind that can only process 2,000 bits of information per second. Not slouchy by any stretch of the imagination, but nowhere close to 4 billion. So how do you keep your subconscious mind with more than 60 to 70,000 thoughts moving around over the course of the day from overwhelming your conscious? You teach your conscious through the process of established a priority. What's important? I'll show you how this works. Have you ever bought a car or a shirt or a purse or some shoes? And when you bought it, you thought, oh man, it's great. All of a sudden you go out and everybody's driving your car. Everybody's wearing your shirt, your blouse. Everybody's got the purse. Everybody's got the shoes. You go, wow, everybody's bought. And you're noticing they've always been there. But before that, your brain had not told your subconscious that they were important to you. The moment that you spent money on it, it automatically translated into a priority. You don't spend money on things that's something you don't want. So now the brain says, this is important. So now you see it everywhere you go. It was always there, but that's how you focus. So you train your brain on what you wanted to focus on. So when you sit up and say, I'm wealthy, you're not speaking of current circumstance, you're speaking of current state of mind. The state of mind is now going to look for ways for you to become wealthy instead of reinforcing the idea that I'm poor. You have to have an understanding of how this thing works. You're literally creating your world through your thoughts. And you can program your subconscious to produce the reality you want. Since it's producing 96% of your life, wouldn't it stand that you want to program it to perform the task and the behaviors and the habits that are conducive to having what it is you want? Absolutely. So what do? You expose yourself to the things you want. You talk in a manner that is supportive of the things you want. You speak in the present tense about things in the future. Brain can't tell the difference. But the brain understands if I'm claiming a certain identity, I have to have a certain behavior. The brain will work over time. Your mind will work over time to align you with what you are identifying with. But you got to get strong enough in your identity with something that your behavior follows. Next, keep things in perspective. This is a journey. Give yourself permission to be in process. Remember, we just talked about that. One of the frustrating things is people want everything now. We live in a microwave society where everything has to happen instantaneously. If it doesn't happen now, then we immediately blame God or the devil. It's not God's will. The devil sure is working overtime. I ain't never going to be able to get this done. This person is stopping me. That person. Do you realize every time you blame somebody for something you can't do, you give them the power? I'm not saying that people aren't doing things. I know people do things. I know certain situations and systems exist that work against certain people. I understand that. I know that certain people have had people in their lives that have intentionally harmed them. Some have had people in their lives that harm them unintentionally, and it caused pain, it caused disruption, it caused trauma. But what you cannot do is give them power. That's what forgiveness is about. It's not about letting them off the hook. It's about releasing them from the ability to impact you. And so what you got to do is sit up and say, no matter what someone does to me, I'm going to win. No matter what someone says to me, it's not going to change my mindset. No matter what somebody does in trying to inhibit my progress, I will win. I'm going to keep pushing until I get it. People will tell you. And I've had people come to me and say, man, this is what so-and-so said about you. And I've had it happen many times. If you ask people who are around me, you'll get pretty much the same things. Number one, if you want to be in his circle, never use the term be realistic. He doesn't like it. And there's an ongoing joke in my circle that if you want to stay in the circle, don't do it, because he will dismiss you. He will stop dealing with you. And people say, why you don't want people to say be realistic? Be realistic is a subliminal way of saying these are my limitations. These are my limitations on what I believe is possible. And I'm going to insist that you operate within those limitations. Don't you dare step out of that and talk about doing something that I don't think is possible. You hold your beliefs, but you don't have the right to put your beliefs on anyone else. If a person is talking about doing something astronomical, crazy to you, step back. You might be witnessing a miracle. Don't sit up and get in their way. Don't sit up and talk to them. I use this example all the time because to me, it is the one I think about the most. I know for a fact, I wasn't there, wasn't even thought of, but I know for a fact when Orville and Wilbur Wright said, we are going to make a machine that flies, that we can be in it and go places. And we're not going to have to ride around these little things. We're going to be able to fly in the air like birds. People said, you guys are absolutely out of your mind. You're not being realistic. And now we get on planes and fly around the world on an iron machine with tons of luggage and hundreds of people weighing 100+ pounds or more, and never give it a second thought. But it was once believed impossible and unrealistic. When Alexander Graham Bell stood up and said, I'm going to create something where we can literally pick up something, press a couple of numbers, and talk to somebody in another city. Alexander, you're out of your mind. You've been smoking the yappy. Need to put that stuff down and come back down to earth. Then somebody stood up and said Alexander Graham Bell was on to something, but I think we can do it without the wires, without the landlines. And what happens? Cell phones, then satellite phones. Now you're listening to me from around the world talk to you about all the things that are possible in the world because somebody believed what someone said was impossible was possible. So don't let people get in that space. But you're going to have to be able to see it. You're going to have to be able to speak it. You're going to have to be able to trust it. And the beautiful thing about it is the mind. When I think about Roger Bannister, and I think I mentioned this yesterday, when I think about Roger Bannister breaking the 4-minute barrier in the mile, it was believed to be impossible before he did it. And then he did it. And they asked him, well, how did you train differently? Was it your diet? Was it your training? What did you do? You know what he said? I ran it 1,000 times in my mind. That is the power of the mind. The mind believed he was doing it because the mind can't determine the difference between what's imagined and what's real. If you want to experience it, it's crazy. They took a group of basketball players who were horrible at free throw shooting. They split them in 2 groups. One group worked with the best shooting coaches on the planet and worked on their free throws day in and day out, so many hours a day, shooting and practicing with these coaches. The others weren't even allowed to pick up a basketball doing the same study. They were put in with a mentalist who taught them how to visualize shooting free throws perfectly and going in perfectly every time. All they did was practice it with their mind. They outperformed the ones who work with the shooting coaches. The mind is powerful. So what are you thinking for yourself? What are you believing for yourself? What are you speaking into your life? Be very careful of your self-talk. Why? Because your brain is the most powerful supercomputer on the planet, but your self-talk is the program it's running. It doesn't matter how powerful your brain is if you're putting subpar programming into it. Guard your self-talk. Guard what you read. Guard what you're watching on TV, what you're listening to in your ears and music and other forms of entertainment and conversation. But definitely guard that self-talk. That's one of the most powerful programmers. It's repeating what the heart believes, reinforcing what the heart believes in the mind. Out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. But you got to be careful. You can change what's on the inside when you govern what's on the outside. The most difficult challenge you're going to have in transformation is changing your thinking by changing your speech. Because when you say it, there's a natural feeling like, I'm not this person. I'm not abundant. I'm not debt free. I'm not wealthy. I'm not healthy. I'm overweight. Don't say it. Speak in present tense about what you are declaring for the future. In the book of Job, it says that you shall declare a thing and it shall be established for you. Now, while that's in a biblical sense, that principle has been taught years before that was ever written. And Job is the oldest book in the Bible. And in this principle and philosophy existed. Psychology has always existed. We just didn't call it psychology. But here's the thing. If you go and you look into the Bible, I'm using the Bible, but you can use any religious standard. The Bible is the standard of the canon for Christianity, and here it is. If you look at it, outside of being told to know the word of God, the most prevalent command is to guard your hearts and minds. Don't think this, don't speak this, your thoughts, this. One of the things that I teach, and this is psychology at its basic form, and it doesn't matter whether you're a Christian or not. This verse is extremely powerful, and I'll leave it with you. It's 2 Corinthians chapter 10, starting with verse 3. It says, "Though we walk in the flesh, we do not war according to the flesh. For the weapons of our warfare are not carnal, but they're mighty in God for pulling down what? Strongholds. Strongholds are the blocks that you're trying to break through. Strongholds are the beliefs that you can't. Strongholds are the obstacles and the objects in your way. Strongholds are all the things that you're looking at and saying, because of this, I can't get through. It says, but it breaks down strongholds. Says, so they're mighty in God for the bringing down of stronghold, casting down arguments, anything, any thought, any idea, any speech, casting out arguments and every high thing that exalts itself what against the knowledge of God. So any knowledge of self, any knowledge or awareness of where I'm going, who I am, you got to cast it down when it moves against what you have declared for yourself. Who I am has to be protected at all costs. So when a thought comes in, then the last part of it says, bringing every thought into captivity. Bringing every thought. In other words, I don't allow thoughts that are in opposition to what I am declaring about my life to move freely. I corral them. I bring them in, and then I force upon them a new thought. So if there's a thought moving around that you're not going to be successful in this next area, I don't just let it go. I sit up and say, nope. Now I counter it. I will be successful. I am successful. I've already won. Why? Because at that moment, I've shut that down. I've stopped that thought, and I've taught my subconscious that that thought isn't acceptable in this arena. And eventually, my subconscious will start arresting thoughts on my behalf. But you are going to have to be willing to go through some things to have that transformational change. There are going to be some things you're looking at, and everything you're looking at is going to be, none of this looks like what I'm talking about. You got to stay with it. There's some times I've been told, you're in denial. No, I'm living in the future. You're watching the current. You're so worried about my circumstance that you can't see where I'm at. See, I am smiling not because I'm happy about where I'm at. I'm smiling because I know I'm not stuck here. I know I'm not going to be here forever. I know that this isn't the end of the story. I know that when I'm faithful to my cause, when I'm faithful to my purpose, when I'm faithful to standing up and living how I'm supposed to be living, there's something on the other side of this struggle. There's something on the other side of this frustration. There's something on the other side of this obstacle that's worth going through it. So I'm already over there. Every day when you see me smiling, I'm actually living in the future moment in my imagination, having already defeated this circumstance. So the circumstance is defeated. I just haven't experienced it in the third dimension yet. You better learn how to think it before it happens. Or you're going to let your circumstances dictate your life. And you'll always be at the mercy of your circumstance. I'm never at the mercy of my circumstance. I tell people all the time, look, I tell people all the time, hey, I see the circumstance. I'm aware of the circumstance, but there's something in my spirit that disagrees with the circumstance. There's just something in my spirit that simply disagrees with the circumstance. I'm not accepting that as the final result. I'm not accepting that as the last word. I'm trying to get you to understand that there's something bigger on the other side of the potential or perceived problem. Transformation is possible for everyone. Look, I hope that you've been blessed by what I shared. We're going to be doing a theme tomorrow is Wealth Building Wednesday. Transformational tools is always exciting to me because I get to talk about things in the form of a power that a lot of people don't understand. And because they don't understand it, they're always at the mercy of their circumstances. You've got to learn how to stand above it. And that's why it's so impassioned in me. But look, number one is I'm going to share the link again one more time. If you want to become a part of the Epic Realm, click that link, sign up. If you want to work with me on a one-on-one basis, there's two ways to do it in the description box. The first one is just a rapid change breakthrough session. You're going to get two for half the price of one. And you're going to get free admission into the next live event that I'm going to be doing, which is the first one in a long time. I'm excited about that. If you think I'm animated now, you need to come to a live event. And it's not just an emotional experience. This is about life change and transformation. It's what I do. And you're going to get a free admission to that. The other one is huge. It is taking my bronze package, which is a 12-week package, and I'm going to personally give you a free upgrade for the first five people who do it, a free upgrade to my platinum package, which is $12,995. And I tell you, those people in the Epic realm, they'll tell you about the platinum package because most of them any of them that work with me were on the platinum package at some point, and they'll tell you about it. There's a reason why people spend to get with me. It's because I produce results. But anyway, whatever you do, you got to start this transformational process. It's not going to be easy. It's a journey. It's not instantaneous, and it's not a one-time decision. It's an everyday wake up and I'm going to be better decision. It's about looking back a year from now, and because you woke up every day with the desire to be different, with the desire to grow, that you've become something that you weren't. And remember, we don't get what we want. We get who we are, what we become. On that note, I'm out of here. Thank you guys for stopping in. You guys have been absolutely wonderful. India, Claudia, and some other people who are in there, thank you so much for sharing. I really hope people paid attention. James C.L. Watkins. I want to just scroll back real quickly and thank the people who were there. The Wanda Pinkney, I don't know if they're still there, but they really contributed and they participated. And that's a part of how we move through this thing. We move through it by connecting with like-minded people. On that note, I'm going to get out of here. You guys have an unbelievable remainder of your day. I still have a whole lot to do. But on that note, I'm out. You guys have a great day.